We're just making sure you guys are awake. You guys awake after that pool party last night?
Yeah!
All right, well, we got some more partying to go on this weekend. All right, before we get this panel underway, we do have a microphone that's located right over here. If you guys have any questions, when I let you guys know, you can start lining up, and we'll have you guys line up against the wall just so we're not blocking anybody in the audience. All right, are you guys ready to get this panel underway? All right, it is my absolute privilege to bring to the stage at this time, he's the one and only Kevin Van Hentenryck! Hi.
Good morning!
It is now. How's the weekend been so far?
It's been great. This is my first Spooky Empire.
Welcome.
Thank you all.
Well, I'm sure you will be at many, many more Spooky Empires, the absolute best. I wanted to start, backstage you were telling me that there is actually a cosplayer that came to see you yesterday, dressed up. Can you tell us a little bit about what it's like to see people dressed as your character? That must be so invigorating.
It is very strange. Our little film has had quite an arc of progression. Originally, it was not this popular. And to see people dressing up like me, I mean, last time I saw this was when we played at the Waverly Theater. We played the midnight show there for, I think we were there 13 months. That was the last time I saw somebody dressed up as Dwayne Bradley. So yeah, it's pretty cool. A project that I worked on 42 years ago.
Oh my God.
That y'all are still interested in, thank you.
Still interested, we still love it. What do you think it is? What do you think is the staying power of the films?
Well, Frank stumbled upon an archetype. We all have that shadow, that dark half that we carry around with us. And so it resonates. And we all feel like misfits occasionally, yes. So I think that's what it is.
Yeah, and from what I was reading, a lot of people, and maybe yourself, have also attributed the fact Joe Bob Briggs helped popularize the movie. So can you tell us a little bit about maybe your relationship with Joe Bob and his helping make this movie even more popular?
I've done a few conventions with Joe Bob and a couple of films with him as well. The original Basket Case was really poorly cut, and Frank hated it. And Joe Bob wanted to play it on his drive-in movie show, but wouldn't show the cut version. So Frank snuck him an uncut version, and after that it caught on enough so that the producers finally realized their mistake, and without any fanfare, just slowly started replacing the cut versions with the uncut versions, and then it took off. So thank you, Joe Bob.
Yeah. Can you tell us some of the differences in the cut versus uncut version?
That's a Frank question.
That's a whole another thing.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Can you tell us about working with Frank? What does he creatively? What's his process?
Frank is one of those people that has an encyclopedic knowledge of the genre. One of my favorite stories about Frank is super low budget, yes. So how do we get Belial to jump out of the basket and into your face? Well, and again, this is film. This is prior to digital. So his solution was, we have an A-frame ladder. The camera is hung upside down from the A-frame ladder. We film it with Belial in the final position. We slam him into the box and close the lid. You flop the film and play it in reverse. That's Frank Hentenryck. Yeah, or we'd be trying to figure out a solution to a specific problem. And, someone would say, well, let's do this. No, they did that in, Monsters from whatever. Oh, well, we could do it this way. No, they did that and, it just, and his apartment in Manhattan, he has a huge wall, floor to ceiling, 2 VHS thick of films. So Frank is someone who, any film you can talk to him about, he has a better story than you.
I also wanted to ask, like, being on a budget, what were some of the more, like, complicated or challenging scenes to have to film?
Yeah. Challenging or complicated. We started, initially we wanted to use a natural hotel opposite Madison Square Garden for the Hotel Broslin. We started to set up there for one of the lobby scenes. We had, again, remember this is 79, so Manhattan was a little rougher then. We had, you know, bums coming up to us, you know, I won't steal your cables if you give me $50. So that location didn't work out. But the real challenge was no money. We would film a little bit, and he would do a rough cut of what we had so far, show it to people, get a little more money, and repeat. For example, I forget which scene it was, but we had enough film for one take. So he says, we're gonna rehearse the crap out of it. Lights, sound, movement, everything, camera movement, whatever was involved with the scene. We're gonna rehearse it till it's perfect, and then whatever you do, that's what's gonna be in the film. Well, as a trained stage actor, we like that. We call that rehearsal, you know, and that's what we live for. So, sort of by accident, it worked out as a good situation.
So what was your knowledge of the genre before doing the series?
Almost non-existent. Yeah, I'm more sci-fi than horror.
And what was your initial thoughts, like reading the script for the first time?
Well, I had actually already given up acting in favor of my sculpture. And if you want to check out my sculpture, it's kevinvanh.com. I had done 3 extra parts for Frank in a previous film, Slash of the Knife. And he liked the way I worked, and I was on his case to use student actors because we need the help. And he called me up with this idea for Basket Case. And when he does a pitch, he performs the entire film for you, like flat out, and he's very good at it. And of course, you know, playing both halves of a set of Siamese twins, that's way too good to pass up. So that's how it happened.
Let's talk a little bit about your sculpture and your art. Was that always something that was like concurrent? Were you like, I love acting, I love sculpting, or did one occur before the other?
Well, I was always good in art. I was terrible in school, dyslexic and ADHD, or whatever. And but I was always good in art, but never serious about it. There was a girl in my history class, Cindy, and I overheard, this is about 10th grade or so, I overheard her talking to the teacher at the door after class, how was the play going? So I thought, I'll get in a play and then I can get to know Cindy, right? So, unfortunately, that turned out to
That's Cindy calling right now.
Cindy! That was Cindy's last play, but I discovered I liked it, and there you were.
And then the sculpture, like how did that come to be?
Okay, so then after graduating high school, barely, I went to an acting school in Rochester, Michigan, which was a really good acting school at the time. Then I went to New York to go to the American Academy, and that was a really poor school at the time, though it's better now, it's good now. So I was in the first year at the American Academy in Manhattan, and Annette and I went up to the Little Carnegie Cinema, which is around the corner from Carnegie Hall. It was, at the time, it was a sleazy art house. They would do Ingmar Bergman festivals and Fellini festivals, and they were showing an old Ken Russell film called The Savage Messiah, which is about an actual stone carver, or sculptor, Henri Gautier, who lived in the time of World War I. And in the course of the film, they showed a close-up of a real carver's hands working a block of marble. And I was so turned on to and by the idea of stone as a plastic medium. That was pretty much it for me.
Now, has there ever been any crossover with Basket Case and your sculptures?
Not yet.
Not yet. The day is young.
You never know how things will turn out.
Ooh. All right, so if it's okay with you, Kevin, we do have a microphone for whatever questions you guys may have. Now is your opportunity to ask them. We have someone taking a picture. Cheese. All right, and I think we have someone making their way down to the microphone. Yes, a couple.
I want to say thank you to all you guys, by the way. This is very cool.
Right. What's your name? What's your question?
It would be John and the... Oh.
I don't know if the mic is on. Let's see.
Okay.
Project. Let's see.
There we go. Ooh, wow, that's powerful. And it's also quite tiny. All right, so there we go. Yes, John, also known as the cosplayer in question that you all mentioned.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Sorry.
A big hand for John. Very cool.
So I had to actually cherry pick a series of questions because I actually have a bunch, but I had heard a rumor that you actually had a pitch for Frank for Basket Case 4. So I'm intrigued. What was your pitch?
Well, remember, 11 baby Belials survived that night at the sheriff's department. They would be in their 20s now, and they live in an area that has had an environmental catastrophe that has produced a really bizarre situation. And these two kind of elements are about to collide.
Nice. All right, I dig that. I think we all dig that.
Yeah. And I think you deserve another question.
Okay. The other one, going back to New York during that time period when you were filming, of course, the first time we see you, you're carting around Belial, and there's a peddler of sorts, haranguing you at every turn. That felt so legit that I have to ask, was he actually for real? Was he actually just like unknowingly film bombing you and just pimping out every kind of drug known to man? Or was he just a really well-written, well-performed actor?
The latter. He was an actor. But we had no permission to be doing that.
Yeah.
And a lot of we were trying to get the storefronts in the shot, and they didn't like it. They didn't want to be filmed. It was a really weird moment. You got to remember, Times Square in that era was really sleazy.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, he was good, wasn't he?
Oh, he was. I was like, is he for real? He's really he's pushing the sell here. So I was like,
Yep.
Only Dwayne would like turn that down. No.
That was a good question. Two great questions. All right, come on down. What's your name?
Randy. Quick question. How much has, because if you look it up, which I did, how much has Basket Case actually made? And congratulations for being in the Museum of Modern Art.
That is really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you. Yeah, the museum did a state-of-the-art restoration of the films. Frank tells the story how at one point they were working on the film aspect of it, and there's a hair. It was in the camera, and it shows up momentarily on the screen, and the guy said, the restorer said, we can remove that, and Frank wouldn't let him. He said, no, it's in the original, it's got to be there. And they loved that they didn't want to fix it, that they wanted it authentic. As far as how much it's made, I don't know. That's a Frank question. I'm sorry.
Wait, you said you looked it up though, right?
No, I tried.
Oh, you tried?
35,000 to make. There are no totals anywhere.
Oh, how much it costs to make?
Well, 35,000 was to make.
Yeah.
But the total, grand total of what it's made in every other movie, it'll say around, close to the.
Yeah,
Wow.
Google.
Well, what was that like learning it was going to be in MoMA? I mean, like, that's a pretty, like, monumental thing to happen for a film.
It is. It's amazing. They were, the program that it's part of is about New York in that era. And Frank used to hang out a lot in the village in these clubs and stuff, and they knew him and wanted to include it. You know, I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing that you all still like it.
We do, we really do. I also wanted to mention another thing is you're also a musician, so can you tell us a little bit about your music as well?
Thank you, yes. I grew up in the late 60s listening to Alice Cooper, who, check this out. I talked to him yesterday a little bit, but we were both in early today, and he wandered by the table. Turns out he's a Basket Case fan. I ground the needle of my record player right through Killer when I was 19. So, yeah, it's very cool.
He's amazing. Have you ever seen him live? Have you been to one of his...
No, this is the first time I met him.
Yeah, we gotta get
actually, that's not true. The story I told him yesterday was when I was 17, I just got my driver's license and a readable VW Bug. And I went to the Michigan State Fairgrounds. This is 68 or 9. And I saw a triple bill. It was Bob Seger, Alice Cooper, and Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels. Very cool, under a tent. And the whole tent's jumping up and down. So, yeah, I have seen him live that time.
Who else have been like some of your favorite people that you've had the chance to meet by doing these conventions?
For example, I'd done a show somewhere in Pennsylvania, but I knew Linda Hamilton was at Chiller that same weekend. And we both ended up supposed to be on the same connecting flight, but that was canceled. So as I'm wheeling my little thing out to wait for the bus, she's sitting there waiting for the bus. So I walked up to her and I said, "Did anybody ever tell you you look like Linda Hamilton?" And she was very cool, she was very gracious, and we got to hang out then and again the next morning waiting for the real flight. Yeah, lots of people, like Joe Bob Briggs, for example, who is largely responsible for the film becoming a success.
Yeah, that's amazing. All right, does our cosplayer friend have any more questions? I know he said he had a couple before, and we still have about 10 minutes left. So. Yeah, might as well. Now's your opportunity. We got some time. And if anyone else has questions, like I said, we have 10 minutes left. Come on down and ask away.
All right. See, now it's gone. During the making of 2 and 3, I understand there was a lot of Jolt Cola all over the place. How did you get over that addiction after filming?
Did I?
Wait, it's still around? How are you scoring that?
For a long time I had a Jolt t-shirt. You know, it's so hard to get things done in this industry. You know, wherever you can get a little help is appreciated. So, thank you, Jolt.
All right. So was there any point in filming any of the trilogy where you're looking at the script, you're looking at going, and you go to Frank, really? You want me to do that? So was there any point where you were like, I think I might hit my threshold?
No, actually, because he's an amazing individual, and he really knows what he's doing. There were moments where we disagreed on character, but a very cool thing about Frank, for example, during the bar scene, I tell Beverly, Dwayne and I, and after the take, he says, "You made a mistake." I said, "No, I didn't."
I noticed that.
"Everybody will think you made a mistake." And I said, "Not anybody who knows anything about film." And he was willing to go for it. And again, that's Frank.
Love it.
Amazing question. All right, what's your name?
Brian. I just had a question about the puppeteering, like how they brought the other character to life. Like, how many puppeteers had to be used to make him do his things? And also, like when you're walking and you have him come out of the basket, how do they achieve that when you're actually walking and the character's actually doing stuff? How do they accomplish that?
Well, it's a composite of lots of different elements. for example, I have a shot somewhere that shows the setup when Belial turns on the TV or tries to turn the channel. Frank was inside the bureau looking, we opened one drawer, so he's looking through the slot at a mirror to work Belial's hand.
He was puppeteering. That's cool.
What's the rest of the question? I'm sorry.
I was just so like I said, like when you're actually walking and you got him in the basket and he's doing, how do they achieve that? I mean, I can see it's not too difficult if you're actually like, just sitting down or just in a still shot. But if you're actually moving and the character's doing something, how do they achieve something like that?
For some of the shots, I would weight the basket. But you have to give the basket its life. When I dump him out onto the floor at Needleman's office, for example, because we were doing sound, I couldn't have any weight in the basket, so you have to add the effect of the weight leaving the basket. So you just figure it out. You figure out a way to make it seem real.
Good acting and movie magic. Great question. All right, this will be our final question. Come on down. What's your name?
Yes, my name is Raul, and my question is, what are your views from originals to sequels? Because I always love the original Basket Case, but that's where my heart really goes to.
The story I've heard from Frank is that he was pitching Frankenhooker to Jim Glickenhaus. And again, as I said, when Frank does a pitch, he does it 110%. And so he finished up and Jim loved it. And Frank's fried at this point. And Jim says, "What else you got?" And he blurted out before he thought, "Basket Case 2?" And Jim said, "Yeah, all right." So we went for it. But what he told me originally was that Basket Case 2 would be like the 1930s film Freaks, with like realistic deformities, which I thought combined with Frank's sense of humor would be really cool. But the producers were completely freaked out about that. So they softened it a little bit. But they were fun, and I got to work with Annie Ross, so it's very cool.
Great questions.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Your very first Spooky Empire. This has been such a privilege to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any thoughts you want to leave us with here this weekend?
Well, if anybody's interested in learning stone carving, I do a free stone carving class in the Catskill Mountains every summer. You can check it out at freehscs.com. It's called the Hunter Stone Carving Seminar. And thank you so much, guys. You're very cool.
Thank you. One more time, everybody, for coming in.